The reality is you need to be ready for things to change in a pursuit in an instant. Hi everybody, welcome to today's lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I am your host as always, John Correa, and joining me again, the host of the ASP podcast, Mike Williver.
Today's video comes to us from Bakersfield, California.
If you value your privacy online, NordVPN is the way to go. Go to nordvpn.com/self-protection for a 2-year plan at a huge discount plus 4 months free. With NordVPN, all your internet data stays safe behind a wall of next-generation encryption with a strict no-log policy. With thousands of servers in 59 countries, you can enjoy the internet with no borders, and one account lets you connect up to 6 devices. Go to nordvpn.com/self-protection today for a huge discount on a 2-year plan plus 4 months free, and thank them for sponsoring today's video. Police have been following this car for quite a while because it was stolen, and dude has led them on a high-speed chase. They let go of the high-speed chase because he was a danger to the entire community. Then eventually they got him stop-sticked twice. And what you're gonna see here is them finally pulling up on the guy and him getting out of the vehicle in just a second. So as the vehicle finally kind of comes to a stop, they're hoping that nothing else will go down, but he is gonna jump out of the vehicle and try to carjack someone else. We have badge cams from here with audio. Let's listen into what happens.
Hey, watch out, get the door, watch out. Get the fuck out right now. Get on the fuck out, get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the fucking.
Second witness officer, we have his badge cam with audio as well. The officer who actually fired the rounds was an undercover. We don't have a badge cam from him because he wasn't wearing one. This perp was shot, but was not killed. They got him into custody, and he is facing a litany, a veritable cornucopia of charges in all of this. No one else was harmed, miraculously enough, and let's think about lessons. So Mike, it's Wednesday. That means Ask Podcast just posted today. Tell us, who's this week's guest?
This week is the guy you've all seen in the video disarming someone during a rather harrowing robbery attempt at a convenience store in Yuma, Arizona. So we'll be talking to him, and it is good.
Good stuff. Go and listen. Link in the description. The first thing that I notice here is how incredibly dangerous this is. This guy already in a car, you know, that is stolen, so they're gonna try to get him out of there. As soon as he starts bailing from the car, this actually gets a lot more dangerous because there's other citizens around.
I can't tell if that pickup truck could have gone forward or not, but in my mind, I'm screaming, please just hit the gas and get out of there.
Please hit the gas and get out of there. So again, you see a big line of cop cars that are, you know, trying to take somebody into custody or whatever. Don't be the looky-loo. Don't be the one who's like, oh, I wonder what's happening over there. No, you want to beat feet. You don't want to, you know, be famous on the TikToks for having a video or whatever.
And not that this guy could, I can't tell if he could have gone or not, but the point is, if you are that person, you're making their job exponentially more dangerous and difficult, and you're endangering yourself at the same time.
At the same time. So as officers, again, as he's bailing out, recognize this is not, oh, okay, we're about to finish this. This is, right now is the most dangerous time for this to go down. And so you gotta have heightened awareness of that. Of course, he's gonna now step in and try to carjack someone else. So let's sing another chorus like we do all the time to all of our private citizens to lock your dang doors. So this guy armed with a gun and is now going to try to and successfully carjack someone else. So now we have a hostage situation in a second stolen vehicle with a violent perp. I don't think it gets any more dangerous than this.
It went from worse to terrible. Listen, if you've got a modern vehicle, go into your settings. There is a way to set it so that once your vehicle gets to say 5 miles an hour, all the doors auto lock. If his doors have been locked, this has been a whole different story.
Even if you don't want to do that, get in, lock the doors. Every time you get in your car, lock the doors, lock every door, lock all the doors.
Do that too, for sure.
Yeah, it's a really easy way, right? Now, of course, from the officer's perspective, I think they did the exact right thing here, and they said, oh no, we have to close in with this guy. Now it's not just driving around and endangering people with your car. Now he is actively carjacking cars, forcible felonies. Now we have to stop this guy immediately, or someone is going to get hurt. Now, let's think about the first officer coming up here to the driver's side window, and notice this is what we've got. We've got our driver with his hands out the window like, hey, I'm not your guy. But we know that our purpose is being a forceful carjacking here. If our officer uses deadly force to stop this guy right now, I got no problem with it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a terrible position for him to be in. I'd much rather be in front of it or next to that vehicle right now, not on the driver's side, because he's got a soup sandwich to deal with.
He has a huge soup sandwich, and of course you got to recognize the fact that if he takes a step forward and now he's shooting through that windshield is going to do all kinds of crazy things to a bullet, and you've got a hostage right next to it. You're just in a spot here where you got to decide what you're going to do.
We had a guy on the podcast recently who was a private citizen in a shooting. He had been in the military. He had practiced shooting through windshields. And he told me, he said, Mike, when it came down to shooting through a windshield, all that stuff went right out the window. All that training went right out the window, and I just leveled it and shot. And he figures he got lucky because he actually hit the guy.
Well, good for him on that. So what our officer chooses to do here is kind of interesting to me in that he gets the taser out and then changes it over to his right hand. So he has the taser. I'm not so sure a taser is a great idea here against a guy who's carjacking people with a gun. And then he transitions that taser over from his support side hand to his strong side hand. I think that was a mistake. We want to make sure that we keep those two things separate so we know when we're using deadly force and when we're not. You draw that taser with your left hand, you learn to use it with your left hand.
100%. If you don't have your taser on the opposite side of your weapon, you're wrong. So get a drop leg holster, get a whatever kind of holster. Don't get a cross draw or whatever. Keep those two things distinctly separate when they're on your person, on your equipment, and especially when they're in your hand. Do not ever have both in your hand at the same time. If you can't holster up safely to draw the taser, you shouldn't be drawing the taser at all.
Yeah, 100%. And again, keep that sucker in the hand that you draw it with. That's why you have it. You want to keep that other hand available if you need to go to the firearm. Instead, he comes up here with the taser. Now the taser in this particular case, he tries, but in the chaos, he just doesn't get prongs on it. Now, when the taser works, it works. When it absolutely locks you up, that's what it's designed to do. But if you don't get both prongs, and in this particular case, he didn't in all this chaos, it is an all or nothing tool. So you better have a backup to that, which is one of the reasons that I want to say that you want to use that in your support hand, because when it doesn't work and this guy's endangering the life of someone else, you drop it and draw your firearm.
Absolutely. If you're going to close this distance like this, very brave of this officer to do, plaudits to him. However, if you're going to do this and move the innocent person's body parts out of the way and reach across and fire something, why not a firearm? Why not a pistol? Especially
given, again, this guy is committing a forcible felony. Okay, I get it. You want to try to take people out and away, but man, you got to just stop this guy. So now what we see is they get off, guy tries to get away, but thankfully the other cruiser is there. Now, what we see in this particular case is they finally get him out of the car and recognize that, oh, okay, fine. You could see the holster on his person, but good for them for getting him out of the vehicle. Now, we're not going to get to see the officer who actually shot. The officer who actually shot is coming up and is right in front of the officer whose badge cam that we're seeing here. Now, the interesting thing to me here is he was actually an undercover who was doing a stakeout, was completely uninvolved with this, but it came his way. And the lesson here for me on that is you may not be expecting to be the one who's in the thick of things in the moment, but that may change in a heartbeat, so you better be ready to be the one that everything falls on.
You and I might differ on this, John, but I did a lot of, not undercover work, it's never an undercover, but a plainclothes agent. The difference being undercover agent is you're playing a role versus a plainclothes where you're doing a stakeout or whatever the case may be. In this case, plainclothes, doing a stakeout, you really need to consider if you want to get involved in something like this when you're in plainclothes. I don't know if he's in his own jurisdiction. I don't know if these uniformed officers knew who he was. But another officer arriving on scene who doesn't see who you are, only sees plainclothes, that could end really, really badly. So I'll have to assume this officer or detective knew enough to know they would recognize him. But that makes me nervous as a former plainclothes guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think through those things, and you better be on the radio and saying, hey, this is who we are and what we look like, and we're coming in on that stuff. Because, the last thing in the world you want to do is show up, draw a gun, and all of a sudden they think that you're one of them instead of one of us.
Right.
Tough day.
Blue on blue is a real thing. It happens.
It's a real thing. Now, thankfully, this particular officer working a plainclothes, but had a vest on. So he was definitely able to kind of be identified. And I'm grateful he went to work because he was the one who stopped the problem. Now, interestingly, watch what he ends up doing here is he ends up getting right to the door, and you can see right here that he actually puts his gun all the way inside the car. So he's reaching both arms inside the car to get to the perp and puts a shot in him. That shot didn't prove fatal. The human body remarkably resilient, But it did stop the threat because they stopped the vehicle, and he sees then at that point, okay, guy doesn't have a gun in his hand, they're able to get him out of the car.
Hits stop fights, gunfights, hits stop carjackers apparently. And yeah, I don't know where the guy was hit, but this is, again, a reminder. You shoot someone one time, it may or may not prove to end the fight. In this case, the guy said, you know what, I'm done. This isn't fun anymore. I've been shot, and I'm just going to lay down on the ground, which is a perfect outcome.
And a psychological stop is a stop. And so one of the things that we say, why do we shoot somebody? Because they represent a deadly threat to somebody in the community, to me, to somebody else. The officer did a great job of that here. Why did he stop? Well, we don't get to see what he saw, and I haven't got to interview him, so I don't know exactly what his decision-making process was. But when they stopped the vehicle, when the guy gave up, he stopped shooting him, and now they start giving him commands. And I think that was absolutely a good answer. And again, next thing here is the guy didn't die. Okay, fine. And I know some people, they talk about this idea, but our standard of use of force is we shoot to stop the threat. I don't care if the guy lives or dies. That's not my concern. My concern is to stop the threat. They did that and then got the guy in custody, and thankfully no one else was hurt here, which is the standard, and I think they did a fine job of.